My name's Cody Davis, originally from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Awesome. You're a veteran.
Same.
When were you in the service?
2008 to 2012.
Where did you serve?
I served in Afghanistan. It was supposed to be a 7-month deployment, turned out to be like 8.5. Had a lot of trouble going in, and then once we got in, it just all hell broke loose from start to finish.
Really? Tell me a little about what your experiences were.
Well, we were in one of the most kinetic areas in Marjah. I was in one particular company that just had no care, really. No face on death, nothing. They just were crazy. So we get down there and firefights pretty much every day for the first 3 months. Not too many IEDs in our AO, but once it started clearing up, it wasn't too bad. We secured our AO, and then about 6 months into deployment, got pushed to Sangin, which was another AO just outside of ours that another battalion was just getting destroyed at, so we had to go and help them out.
Tell me what that was like.
It was different because it was totally against everything that we were trained and what we had done, but since we had secured our whole AO, they had sent our company down and had us review everything that they had done and what they were changing or what they were doing, and it turned out that they weren't changing any of their TTOs or any of their tactical measures, nothing. So once we got in there, we kind of had to do a full takeover, and we just started doing different patrols in different directions and securing the AO as quick as we possibly could. So we were there about 2 months, and that's where we lost the majority of our people in our company.
Okay, now for somebody outside the military, what are we actually talking about here?
Like, okay, so you put battalions in different areas of the country, and you tell them to secure it. So you go in, you completely, it's like standing on line and walking all the way through that part of the country and making sure that there's no threat anymore. So when they couldn't accomplish that, and we had already done that ahead of schedule, they had put other Marines here to secure this area while we left, and we went to go secure their area. Since they weren't changing any of their tactics and continuing doing the same thing and expecting a different answer, they were just getting destroyed while they were doing it. And they lost so many people that they were combat ineffective, so we had to go up there and help them out and change the way that they were doing things so that we could all at least give the rest of the people a chance to go home.
Absolutely.
So
how did that affect you?
At that point, I was so far gone in my deployment that those memories don't really affect me too negatively. It was like the initial transition from never being in a country like that to having to go straight into combat within a 2-week time frame is where you kind of get lost in your head, and you just go from being whatever you used to be before you got into savage quickly, and you have to be or you won't survive. It's a dog eat dog world kind of thing. It's weird to say, but you go straight from hanging out with your kids or your friends or your family to just kill because, and it's not even like it used to be where it was you're killing innocent people. There's an enemy and they're coming after you, so you got to do everything you can to survive, and sometimes that means doing things you don't want to do.
How do those things affect you? Now
I feel like I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Part of me is like, I feel like it's good skills to have. If it came down to it in any situation, I'm not afraid to pull a trigger. But it sucks because I went so long doing that it was hard to transition back into regular life. And how do I go through where I'm standing at the grocery line and someone pisses me off? How do I say, okay, I'm not going to pull the trigger? So my big thing was just like, I'm not going to buy a gun. So, but it wears on me. It's all like a 50-50 wear, because I can find good in it and I can find bad in it, and I'm trying to find that middle ground where I can kind of be at peace with both.
How has this affected you physically?
Physically, I've kind of gotten better. It is weird to say. Over my deployment, like when I first got in the military, my back was in such bad shape that I could barely bend down to tie my boots. I actually had a rack mate while I was in training tie my boots every morning because I couldn't bend down and do it. I was taking so much ibuprofen and Tylenol that my kidneys were almost failing. I was pissing blood every day. So I finally just cut it out and started stretching, and once I got into the fleet and started doing the training and my workup for the deployment and got through the deployment, just walking every single day with that amount of gear, the way that it was distributed, stretched me out enough to where once I got back, my back was in better shape than it was before I left. And since then, it's progressively gotten better. But I do have wear and tear, like my shoulders kill me every day just because of the compression on them. My chest hurts every now and then from a bullet casing. And
You were wounded.
I got hit in the sappies in my plates, but I didn't get decommissioned because they did their job.
Okay. What was that hit you?
7.62.
What is that?
Bullet.
It's a bullet, okay.
It's a bullet.
So someone was trying to take you out.
In their defense, it was kind of my fault, but at the same rate, it was, that gypsy mentality that we all had of just not caring while we were out there. It was Christmas Day, and I had this huge, like 4.5 foot long Christmas hat, like a Kris Kringle hat, and I put it on over my Kevlar and strapped it down and walked around. And me and another Marine had a group of Afghan national soldiers that we had been training. We were taking them out on patrol, and we walked around this compound area. It was like a little village, and we walked around it, and as soon as we breached the outer skirt of that village, I took one right to the chest, and I just kind of backed up into the house, took my Kevlar off and took my flak off, and kind of sat there for 15-20 minutes to breathe. And then after that, it just kind of hurt for a while, and I had a big bruise in my chest.
I mean, just the very thought of what just transpired there.
It.
How long did it take for that to sink in? That someone just tried to kill you?
Until I told my mom, and she freaked out and started crying, I think, possibly. But because out there, we knew from day one that everyone was trying to kill us. We kind of turned it into a game. Because if not, you were going to go crazy. So either go crazy now, or let it get to you later. If you let it get to you later, you're going to be sitting in the corner in the fetal position, frozen. If you just kind of make yourself crazy, you're going to want to go out there and get shot at, because you're going to want to shoot at them too. They're playing the same game that we are. We just got really cold really fast and decided that it was the only way to make it out of here still breathing. And then, that's why we have doctors when we get back. That was our whole mentality. Like,
That doesn't quite work out like that, does it?
not quite. Not quite, because we all figured we could just go talk to somebody. But on the way back, it was different, because we all do our transition paperwork to say, do we have symptoms? Are we having nightmares? Are we having trouble sleeping, anxiety problems? Do you think you'll have a problem when we get back to the States? We did this whole questionnaire before we left Afghanistan. Everybody answered the same way, because everybody knew that if we didn't, they would hold us and let us go on leave. No one wanted that. We'd just been in a country for 8.5 months. We wanted to go home. So that was, that's pretty much how every battalion works. Except for ones that are forced before. They don't even have to take the questionnaire. They're going, and they're going to get into a 90-day PTSD clinic. Like, they're not going to be able to go anywhere for 90 days because they'll be on suicide watch, everything for 90 days. There's some battalions that have done that. Ours didn't.
How did you find out that cannabis could help you?
When I was on post-deployment leave. I've always been a smoker. I had stopped when I joined the military, and it was And then I went through all my training. So it was a good year and a half or so of boot camp training and everything before I got to my workup for the deployment. Went through the whole deployment, and I don't know if I could say if I smoked over there or not, but we smoked over there because we all thought that if we died, we're dying happy. And I'm not gonna die for a country that's making me doing something that we don't ever know is right or not. So we all hung out with the Afghans and got our own herb and hash and different things out there that, you know, when we were off of patrol and off of post, that we had our, you know, our little R&R time on patrol bases, that we would just sit down and relieve some of that stress or be able to sleep, because we haven't slept in so long that we're just so wired that we can't fall back asleep.
So the cannabis helped you sleep?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would use most nights that I didn't have anything to do. If I knew that we didn't have to wake up at, you know, dark 30 to go on, 13-hour mission, any of those, when it was just, okay, this is my night, go grab a couple Pop-Tarts, Gatorade, smoke a hash stick, fall asleep, make it to the next day.
How did that affect you the next morning when you woke up?
Great. I mean, I felt rested. I felt like, you know, I could go up and go into another day of combat. It helped relieve that little bit of stress and that little bit of to have wiggle room for, okay, now I'm ready. I can go. You know, let's go shoot at people. Let's go run and do the things we've been doing. You know, we all were eager to do it. We hated going on patrols because it was just long and tiring and hot. And then there came a point where we were just so crazy with it that we had nothing to do but laugh about it. So it was like, let's go on patrol and let's have fun. Why not? And then you kind of get crazy and careless and do stupid things like wear Christmas hats to get shot at. So it wears on you, and you get a little crazier as the days go by. But I don't regret a single minute of it, just because, I mean, it's been a shitty road since, just trying to progress and cope and get to a point where I'm at now.
Well, tell me that. Now, okay, you're back in stateside.
Right.
What was your experience then?
I'm back in stateside, and since I had smoked while I was in country, I had waited for a little bit just to see how it was going to be when we got back. And I went on post-deployment leave, and right before post-deployment leave, I had went to my clinic, and I had told them that I had killer headaches, headaches that were like crippling to the point where I couldn't see. I had to sit down because I couldn't. It was so blurry I couldn't see. So I told him about it, and he said that, you know, it was just because I was homesick and I just needed to go home and relax and not worry about combat so much and just see if that helps. And I was like, okay, not even a Tylenol, nothing. So I went out of there and I went on leave. Headaches kept coming. Nightmares progressed shortly after, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I went and I used, and came back. I failed my urinalysis upon arrival. About 2 weeks later, I got court-martialed, sent to the brig. I spent 30 days in the brig.
All for using cannabis?
All for using cannabis. Now, since it was such a quick turnover from urinalysis to court-martial to brig, it wasn't out of my system yet. So by the time I got to the brig, I got another urinalysis while I was in the brig. Failed that one too. So as soon as I got out of the brig, I got held at the battalion office and sent back to the brig 4 days later for another 7-day stint. And then got out of that, and that was a pre-trial agreement that they had worked up or something. So I got out and I waited about 2 months, and I just went crazy, sitting around not doing it. They wouldn't let me work, they wouldn't let me do anything. And then finally they said, we're court-martialing you in a week. And I got a second court-martial, went back to the brig for another 30 days. And then got out of that one, and finally decided that it's time to just kind of move them. I didn't stop smoking. I said, screw this. There's nothing more you can do. They took my rank twice, to the point where I didn't even wear my name tapes on my uniform or rank or anything. I just wore plain green camis everywhere.
How did that make you feel?
There was a part of me that made me feel real small, like how much I had accomplished and how much I was being treated like. You know, it was really, but I hadn't really gotten any treatment since Afghanistan, any real treatment, so I was still in that crazy kind of like, okay, you want to play games? We'll play games. So you don't want to let me out? I'll force you to let me out. You don't want to diagnose me properly? I'll just act so goddamn crazy that you're going to say, either we diagnose him, get him out and do this properly, or we kick him to the fucking curb and make sure he doesn't call CNN. Because that was some of the stuff that I was telling him. I said, if you don't get me out of here within the next 2 weeks, I will put CNN on your fucking front doorstep, and you're going to tell them exactly what you need to tell them. And I got really angry, and I was really pissed off all the time. To the point where I was so pissed off and so crazy and done with it that it was like that psychotic giggling, you know what I'm saying? You just sit there and you're like, okay, how can I fuck with them now? So I just played games with them until they were like, okay, we don't want you anywhere near our office, we don't want you anywhere near, to the point where I could just hang out in my room and not be bothered. If at least you're going to keep me here, I'm going to sit here in solitude like I want to be, away from people, away from noises, and away from whatever. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to smoke in peace, and you're not going to give me shit about it. There's nothing more you can do to me. So I got really ballsy and really just belligerent and didn't care until they let me out. And even the last like 2 weeks of them trying to let me out, it was a struggle. I was screaming at majors, people way over my rank that they shouldn't have been letting me yell at. It was just a mess. So I finally got out, and it was just the biggest, it was probably the best day of my life, I think. Just because it was a year and a half after I had already been court-martialed for the very first time. Like, it took that long for them to get me out. And when I finally got out, I almost cried. I drove back, and I haven't been back since.
How long have you been out now?
It was 2014, 2 years this past April.
How's your life changed since then?
Since then, I've been through my ups and downs. Hospitalized once.
What kind of medications have you been on?
I started out, when I first got out, I got my very first PTSD diagnosis from an actual qualified doctor. And then they put me on a Fexer. It was like a Venlafaxine something or other. It was supposed to be a mood stabilizer. And it kind of made me feel like, when I first started taking it, it made me feel giddy, like I had a tic. And then it would kind of level itself out. And then I just started having some weird adverse reactions. So I went back to the doctor. I said, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. And he upped my dosage. Once that happened, it just went shit hit the fan quickly. To the point where it was just toxic at home and toxic everywhere else. The only place I could go really was work, because it was just me and my boss, and all I had to do was sit there and grind my fingers to the bone doing mindless work.
When you say toxic, what do you mean?
Like, at home, I was with my ex and her child. She wasn't really good for me to begin with. She taunted and did things that, like, woke me up in the middle of the night abruptly. Things that you just don't really do to a combat veteran that idiots know. Clearly she wasn't to that level. But it got to the point where she was testing my boundaries and my morals. And it got so heavy that, like, I stormed out of the house and I drove away and I never came back. And my mom got so distraught over the situation that she called the cops because she thought that I was going to hurt myself. It's like, if anybody's going to get hurt, it's going to be her. And it just turned out to be like a bad day. And I spent 3 days in a mental hospital. Worked me out a little bit, kind of came to reality a little bit and saw where I was and what I needed to do. And from that point on, I've been nothing but better. They put me on Seroquel there, which is the only medication that I've ever really had that mellowed me, kept me at a level playing field to where, like when I was in the hospital, they gave me high doses. I was sitting in the corner like a monkey with a box, just not doing shit. And then when I got out, I got really minor doses. And when that happened, I was just all day long, level, calm, and fine. And then I realized quickly that it's a really dependent drug. You know, the time I went to the hospital to the time I quit taking the Seroquel was probably about a month and a half, 2 months. And I hadn't smoked from point A to point B to figure it out, so that I had no other chemicals in my system to see if this medicine was going to be the one that helped me. And I just didn't like it, threw it all the way, and I've been using cannabis ever since.
Using cannabis ever since?
Yes. And nothing else.
Nothing else at all?
I don't even take Tylenol.
So how's that been working out for you?
Wonderfully. I mean, I can tell now, since I've been in the state of Colorado over the last 4 months, that it depends on what I smoke and how much I smoke. I'm working more on my levels and my dosage and what I dose myself with at any given point in the day.
Okay, this is really important for other veterans like yourself out there.
Right, like in the house, you know, we have 2 veterans, and we're completely different in how we smoke. One smokes sativas all day long, and can be, because he has more of a depression side. I have more of an anxious side, so I have to have something that mellows me out, something more. I have to be grounded, so I'm like not thinking too fast or thinking too slow. It kind of brings me to the middle, and I'm good. So my heavy sativas I don't really like unless it's kind of a mix, because I can do that before work, feel okay, feel the relief of pain and anxiety that I need, but not put me to sleep. And then when I get home, I like 100% indica so that I don't have any problem falling asleep. And if I don't have a problem falling asleep, I don't have a problem staying asleep.
We have to figure it out for ourselves, don't we?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Thank you, Cody. I appreciate it, buddy.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service, too.